Hi everyone. This is kind of the revised season of Been There Done That for 2024. This episode is going to be about journalism, and I'm going to be talking with two people who have a lot of experience in that, both in school and outside of it. So if y'all could introduce yourself, let's start with you, Varsha.
Hi, I'm Varsha Janak, and I've been doing journalism since sophomore year, and currently I'm the creative director of the Panther Prints at Plano East Senior High School.
Hi, I'm Pragna Caganelli. I'm joined journalism in freshman year, and currently I'm the co-editor-in-chief of the Dragon Tribune at South Lake Carroll.
Awesome. So how did both of you get interested in journalism?
So I had she's still my friend, but one of my friends, when I was a freshman, she first joined the newspaper at our school, and every quarter the issues would come out, and I'd always be really fascinated by it. And so she kind of started talking to me about joining newspaper, and she's a senior right now, so she's still kind of been like my mentor for the past 2 years. So that was kind of one of the reasons. And to be completely honest, Rory Gilmore from Gilmore Girls really motivated me to be in journalism.
For me, it was mostly I just needed an elective to take, and I thought like I might as well take this. And so I wasn't really that interested in it at first, but then like as the my first year went on, like I just kind of fell in love with it, and realized I really like writing, and I want to like continue in newspaper. So that was pretty much how I got started.
Yeah, and I think you guys kind of got into it a little bit, but I wanted to dive just a bit more into it. Did you always have kind of one thing you wanted to go for in journalism? Like, did you always have one topic for what you were writing, or did you have a specific interest in mind?
Um,
Honestly, oh, sorry.
now you go.
Honestly, I didn't like really, I didn't have any expectations going into newspaper. Um, it was mainly based off of what my friend and current editor Sydney told me. Um, but I kind of went into it super blind. I didn't know anything. So I really just learned as I was going. I had no specific expectations or interests.
Um, for me, it's right now I don't do as much writing because like I'm an editor, but also like this is our first year like as a full newspaper. So um me and everyone in the newspaper, like we kind of operate on a rotations thing. So like if you really enjoy a topic, like you can write more about it. Like for me, I really enjoy covering board meetings, which a lot of people do not like. So that's mostly what I write, like when I do write. But I think like when you join newspaper, you can't really be set on doing one specific beat, like especially a school newspaper, because like it changes so much.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
to add on to that, the three editors for us, we also try and like divide everything and give people topics that they don't like because we know that they might not have as much passion for it, but we want to expose them to something that they don't like so they can kind of navigate how it feels to not be interested in the topic. And for us, we work on like a quarterly basis. So they'll be like super into one topic for a while. And I think that kind of helps everyone get more exposure to different topics.
Gotcha. And what kind of advice would both of you have for people that are maybe interested in writing and interested in newspaper that want to get started?
I think definitely just try everything. Like I know a lot of people who join our class, like there's people who like want to just do like reviewing or like reviewing mu movies and books, but it's like you don't get the full experience and you don't get to like hone your writing unless you do news writing and sports writing and feature writing as well. So really just try everything, and also like don't be afraid to make mistakes because like a lot of times like people will try to like get their first draft of like writing like perfect, and it's just like your editors are always there to help you. So like if you're just joining journalism, like do like be adventurous with your writing, and then your editor will always be there to help you.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely don't limit yourself. I think a lot of times people will choose something that they're really good at. They'll be good at editorials or they'll be good at news writing, and then they kind of limit themselves to that one specific type of article. But I think that everyone needs to try every single kind of article, every topic, and try as much as you can. And then also, I think, again, like I feel like as an editor this year, I've noticed that anyone who struggles is not asking for help. So always go talk to someone who knows what they're doing because it's like every person there is here to help you. And so if you're interested in newspaper or in journalism, go talk to someone who knows what they're doing or who has experience. That'll always help.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I know both of you have done things outside of school to further your interest. So could you tell me a little bit more about the kind of programs or classes that you've done outside of school to kind of further your interest in journalism and newspaper?
So for me, like my first and right after my first year, which is ninth grade, that summer I did a program with the New York Times, the School of the New York Times. I was about like political writing, and I thought that was just something that was really great because it was like in depth and like how to write and how to gather sources. So that was really awesome. But I think what I did this previous summer was even more helpful because it was basically a workshop with the New York Times and then a summer internship with a local newspaper. And I think that like both from like a writing standpoint and an editorial standpoint, like that really helped because I got to see how a real like a professional newsroom works and also just like what the expectations are and like what the writing style is. And yeah, I think it was really like an invaluable experience.
So last year in March, my journalism like class, some of us went to the Columbia Scholastic Press Association. They had a convention, a 3-day convention, where there were a bunch of industry professionals, editors, other advisors and teachers. And I learned a lot from that, not only about you know, expanding my like writing portfolio, but about how industry professionals got to the point that they're in right now. So it was kind of interesting to talk to all those people and gain contacts, and also to talk to other students in different areas of the country and see the differences that each journalistic program has. And then I don't know if this counts as outside of school, but I also participate in the journalistic UIL, which I did last year and this year, where you have to write articles, edit them in 45 minutes. And I think that's also really helped me be able to think on the spot and think of things quickly, which kind of helps me not only in writing articles, but even like for my academics.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a fantastic segue into a question I was just thinking about, which is how does your like experience in journalism affect you or like impact what you do in school or even in other activities outside of school?
I think because journalism is all about like deadlines, right? Like you have to have things turned in on time. Like I'm a serial procrastinator, like naturally, but I think it's helped me kind of like learn to manage my time both when I'm writing and like in just homework and work and other stuff. And also just like I feel like because journalism is about like finding things out. So it's helped me a lot with like research and just like how do I like expand my knowledge of like everything around me.
For sure, I think it's expanded my professional communication skills because you have to be able to talk to all sorts of types of people, publishers, um, teachers, students, people outside of school that you need to interview. So I think it's um, improved my like communication and professional speaking abilities. But also I designed the newspaper, so my presentation skills have improved by so much. I'm able to I feel like I'm able to make presentations a lot quicker and also my writing abilities because I have to be able to for UIL, I have to be able to write an article in 45 minutes and that really helps when I'm writing an LEQ or a DBQ. So
Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of next steps are both of you guys planning to take to continue your interest? Do you want to like keep doing it in college, in some other programs?
I think as far as right now, like I'm staying in it for all 4 years of high school, and it's like important to that. I think journalism is great because like if you, I'm thinking of maybe pursuing it in college. Like I'm not 100% sure. Like anything can change, but also like it's great because it's like if I do decide to do it in college, it's a good stepping stone for like other paths because like a lot of lawyers do journalism, a lot of like people in politics and like political analysis do journalism. So I think if I do decide to do journalism, it would be a great step, like no matter which career path I go down.
Yeah, I'm also planning to continue it for my next year of high school, but I don't currently have any plans to major in journalism or pursue it as a career. But for sure, no matter what major I pursue, I do plan on minoring in journalism, just because that's something that I feel like I've spent a lot of my high school experience on, and I do want to continue it, just maybe not as a career.
Yeah, and has your experience in journalism kind of affected how you view things personally, or like in let's say your life outside of academics?
Can you
Yeah, sorry.
like what do you mean?
Let me clarify that a little bit. Um, I guess just has like mm, has making like articles like you do in your newspapers, has that affected the way you like look at things in the news, or like when you talk to people just generally?
I think yeah, I mean that I think I definitely am more critical of the news I consume because of it, just because I've seen like the way like for example, the way that headlines can be like manipulated to make you agree with one side or another, even if they don't, it doesn't show like complete bias, like just the words they use, like and the different diction and stuff. So that's definitely like something that journalism has helped me like think about, and also just the news that I consume, like where what are the sources, like even if it comes from a big name, like it's not always right because sometimes the sources are just like word of mouth and things like that. Like so I think journalism has definitely helped me there. And yeah, just thinking more critically about what people say, like asking where did you learn that, and like did you even verify that information?
Yeah, I think it's also made me more aware of what I see on the news, of bias, again, like headline manipulation. But I also, in general, just have a greater appreciation for like professional news publications because things that my school newspaper are doing in a quarter, professional publications are doing in a day. So I think that just makes me appreciate when I see a newspaper or I see a magazine or I see news on the TV, I appreciate what they're doing a lot more.
Yeah, and getting into that a bit more, like intensively inside of your school, how do you and the other people that contribute to it approach researching and fact checking and putting together your newspapers?
Okay, well, I think a school newspaper has like a little bit less like
Yeah.
need for like how much we um fact check because like a lot of it is like we're covering school events. Like we can verify that it's true just based on the fact that we know that like it happened, and like we know like a swim meet happened. Like that's not gonna be made up. But like I think something that we do struggle a lot with is like making sure we have a balanced story, like especially like in things that are like regarding like our local government, our school board and stuff like that, like making sure we're not overly critical or like overly like kind of like we're way too on their side. Like we just have to do a lot of like fact checking regarding like our sources, like are they like super, have they always been super like anti the school government or something, like um it's just stuff like that. But on a day to day, there's not much, like it's not heavy fact checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a school newspaper, you have some limitations because there are obviously sensitive topics that, I mean, there have been so many article ideas that we've pitched, and our principal will reject them because they're pretty sensitive. So that's something that we have to always consider. When it comes to fact checking, a lot of times we just have to pay attention to, as soon as there's any piece of data, anything that seems like it's an opinion, if one of the articles doesn't have it, we just make sure to have all of the sources listed out. And if it's not listed out, we are aware of where it came from, so that if someone complains, we know where to go and how to prove ourselves, if that makes any sense.
And what kind of challenges have you guys faced in your work, like in your classes, in your like I should say school newspaper, outside in your other activities? What kind of challenges have you faced, and how did you deal with them?
I
We've got
guess one challenge, no, you, sorry. One challenge that I faced was that, like on multiple occasions, I've had to go back and forth with the principal because and it's not his fault. It's just he's trying to make sure it's a school newspaper, so we're not being um, too critical or too biased or anything. But when I'm covering board meetings, I have to make sure that I've reached out to every single person in the story. And even if they don't respond for comment or anything, I have to say that I reached out just to be sure that we've covered all our bases. And that annoys me sometimes because that's a process that can take an extra week. And then by that time it's not newsworthy anymore. And it's just that's a big problem. Um, and also making sure I don't know, just making sure that we're remaining relevant to the school, but also we're covering important pieces. That's a big challenge for us.
Yeah, I agree with the last point that you said, that a lot of times students, when we publish the newspaper, they don't care about what's going on with the school board or local news. They care about the entertainment. So it's all about balancing, having fun news and real news. But also, we've gotten threats before, because when we cover political things, sometimes even if we're covering something that has to deal with a Republican, then Democrats will come at us. If we're covering something to do with a Democrat, then Republicans will come at us, and that's happened multiple times before. Or parents will read it and something. One time we were giving game recommendations, and one of the games was Secret Hitler, and we got multiple complaints from a parent because they didn't read what we were talking about. So that's something that we always have to be aware of when we're choosing topics for our next issue. We don't want to anger anyone, but we also want to be able to cover everything. And then again, going back and forth with the principal, making sure that everything is appropriate for a school newspaper.
Yeah, and again, that's like a perfect segue into the next question I was going to ask, which is just I know both of you have had to like interview or talk to people before for your kind of writing. Have you had to do that with people that have like opposing viewpoints or perspectives to you? And if so, how has that kind of gone down?
I've tried to do a lot of interviews with people who are very who don't exactly agree with my viewpoints, but for some reason they like to duck out of the interview, I can't do it or I don't want to comment on that. So I think a big challenge for me of that type of interviewing is just getting the interview, because a lot of times people just don't want to talk.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people with strong opinions, they're aware of the fact that they have strong opinions, and they're not as comfortable as being portrayed as that kind of person. So it's a struggle to get them to be interviewed. But I've interviewed people with opposing views as me, and I think the most important thing to do is just don't don't take anything to heart. Just because they have an opposing view does not mean that their opinion is invalid. Um, I think it's just important to stay unbiased and to recognize that you're writing an article. You're not talking with them personally. You're just extracting information.
Yeah. And with the like we kind of mentioned this before, but with the kind of rise in polarization of news and the ability for that kind of stuff to all be like made way more visible through social media, do you think that what we like what do you think the step would from news being shared like all over social media sites and the glamorization of those kinds of headlines? What do you think that entails for the future of journalism?
I think, um, well, if I, are you asking like
Yeah, so that was a really
polarized head? No, it's just, are you asking like kind of like polarizing headlines, like clickbaity headlines?
yeah.
I just think it makes people pay less attention to the news because like they see like these sensationalized things and they're like, oh, like I've seen the story before, like it doesn't really matter. Like the whole thing of like blank people in sports or like trans women in women's sports or whatever, like they see that and they immediately click into like I disagree with this or I agree with this, and they don't care about the actual news. So I think people they're putting real journalism like down, and they're also like I guess they're doing it at the cost of like giving information to the people, which is what journalism is about.
Yeah, and I think also with I feel like now people are starting to recognize that a lot on social media. And I think with the popularization of that view, there also comes a point where people stop trusting the news and they stop trusting these journalism outlets. So again, you're I feel like it invalidates the information that you're giving by using that kind of clickbaity headline.
Yeah, and um just like a question on that is kind of how do you both get you like news to keep yourself updated on stuff knowing all of that?
I think, well, okay, like first, I mean, you can, as much as they like might sell out values, sometimes like big names in the news, like they are important to getting like the core information. But then also, like, I like when like stories that are happening, like wars or like at times like where there's like mass destruction and stuff, like I like to look at people who are actually there, like who are in the first person. So like that's like the most verifiable information and like that's the most important information and that's the information that has no bias to it. So I
Yeah.
think yeah, that's
Um, I definitely like information coming from the first person. The thing with like the bias and stuff that happens now in like bigger um news outlets is that I mean, those are the most popular news outlets, and sometimes you do rely on those for information. So you have to be able to make your own opinions. You have to be able to reason out what's biased and what's not.
oh,
Yeah.
and just to add on to that, like sorry, like when you're looking at those big like obviously like we know like Fox News has like a lean and CNN has a lean and stuff like that. So like it's more there's like you can when you're in a story like you can recognize the way it's being written, but then you can also filter that out and look at the real information. So I think that's an important skill to have.
Yeah, and going back to both of y'all real quick, um, how do you handle like criticism or maybe like feedback on your stories that maybe you didn't like want to hear, and how has it like helped you grow as a journalist?
I think just separating yourself from the story, like you're not the words that you write. Like so for me, like I didn't have an editor. I never had an editor because I'm like the first editor in chief of the newspaper in a few years. So I mostly just talked straight to my advisor. And like she is blunt. Like she's super nice when she's not editing, but she's super blunt when she is editing. So I think at first I was like, oh my gosh, she hates me. Like this is why she's adding all these comments. But it's not. It's because she wants the best for my work and she wants the best for our newspaper. So like I think just separating myself and kind of understanding like this is for my good and this is for the good of my publication. So like I should be taking these suggestions and not getting butthurt over them.
Yeah, I think like you have to see that an edit is not an attack on you personally. It's not an attack at all. Everyone there is trying to help you. An edit is for your own good. Um, as an editor this year and a reporter last year, I think I'm able to recognize that more now. Because when I'm editing someone's paper, I'm not trying to attack them personally. I just want them to be able to succeed. I think ninth grade, sorry, 10th grade, I used to take it a lot more personally because my editor, Kayla, I used to think she hated me every time she edited an article, but as I went through the year, I recognized that she just wanted me to succeed and she wanted to see me doing everything right instead of wrong.
Yeah, and a little bit more on that. How do you like go about collaborating with your team members or with people that maybe you're like trying to talk to get information? How do you go about doing that typically?
Well, if it's with my team member, I mean, it's mostly like I've gotten to the point where we're mostly like it's not like a scary thing because I'm an editor, but I'm still like their age. Like it's everything is like still like conversational and between friends. So team members is mostly just like I'll text them or I'll email them and like or I'll just talk to them and be like, hey, like something went wrong or like you need to be working on this. And usually they'll understand because it's like they know that if I'm telling them to do something, I'm doing it because I want the newspaper to be functioning. But if it's for someone I need information from, that's definitely a little bit more of a challenge because it's like you have to go through emails. If it's like another student, like we have to go through their classes and find like track them down, which is a little scary actually. But yeah, it's just like emailing and like hoping that they'll respond to you and you won't have to track them down.
Yeah, for team members, I try to be as like professional, but also like I'm your friend so that they know that I want them to succeed, but also I'm not trying to threaten them. It's like I'm not supposed to be scary. I'm supposed to be helping you. Um, for people we get information from, a lot of times we're using contacts that are from people in the class, and we'll DM them or Instagram, like message them somewhere or email them. And yeah, a lot of it is just like waiting and hoping that they will respond and that they're interested. So that's the main way of getting information.
And just to round it out, what is like the most memorable experience that you guys have had in your experience across the past 2 years for you, Russia, and 3 years for you? Okay.
For me, okay, I have a few. I think definitely like getting the internship at Community Impact, like that was great and I loved that. I also there was I think my funniest experience was when we were trying to do a story about the election for like a state election and I kept trying to pull people seniors out of their classes and they thought I was taking their votes. Like they kept telling me they were voting for like Greg Abbott or something. I was like, that's not what I'm asking you. But I think my best experience was just my first like publication and like when people read it and told me they thought it was good, like I just like felt like so proud of myself and I think that was a great experience for me.
I definitely think that seeing my first article in print was like it was just like so amazing to see like all the fruits of my labor on paper. It felt really real. And then also the first time I designed the whole newspaper and I got to see all my hard work. I knew everything I had done to finish that. And so it just felt like a lot sweeter to see everything in print. And then also I think going to Columbia made me realize my passion for journalism by spending 3 days talking about it for the whole time. I kind of realized how much I loved it. My like funniest experience would probably be the time I had to call someone for advertising and they just started complaining about their boss and I was on speakerphone with my whole class and they all started laughing and we were like laughing hysterically on mute, but then I had to start being professional and tell him it was fine. And so I think that would be probably my funniest experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. This has been super helpful. Uh, I'm glad I got to talk to you both about this because it's been like super awesome to hear about the perspectives and especially for everyone that's gonna listen and gain an interest for it for sure. So thank you both so much, and I'll